Koenig, and welcome to my future 4th grade classroom. This presentation that I'm going to give you is one that will show you how I will build my math classroom into a learning environment that will help me bring out my students' full potential in learning. I will go over implementing Common Core into my classroom and basically what Common Core is, the primary math skills that I'll be focusing on, the different routines I'll be using, my math teaching approach, the manipulatives I'm going to use in the classroom, and technology that will be used throughout the year in the classroom. One thing that some parents might be hesitant or maybe even against is the Common Core standards. Mainly because there's a lot of political issues about it and there's a lot of misunderstandings about it. Because our state adopted them, I am required to use them in my curriculum, but it's okay because these standards are actually built by highly qualified teaching professionals, and it's not the federal government that actually came up with it. It was actually highly qualified teachers and groups that came together and built these standards for the whole country, or tried to get it through the whole country. One thing that the Common Core does better than the other standards is it helps students be more ready for college. I mean, what parent wouldn't want their students to be more ready for college, you know? So, what some of you may not know is that before Common Core, all our states had different standards, which means if someone in South Dakota got an A, they might be getting a C in, let's say, Georgia. With the Common Core, right now there is 46 states that have adopted it, and because they have adopted it, it is easier for the states to compare and to also work together in the school system. Okay, now I'm going to have you take a look at this picture on the left side of my screen. It's a pretty interesting picture, right? I mean, peacocks are really quite an interesting bird. And my approach to this, or for teaching, is I can make math interesting. I can actually use this picture, and how interesting it is, I can actually use this picture for different math problems and having the students do processes, strategies, problem solving, and deeper understanding because of it. I mean, I could do a lesson or ask the students to estimate how many eyes are on this bird's feathers, or maybe how many feathers it has, how tall they think the tail is, considering that the bird is, I don't know, maybe 3 feet tall from the top of its head. So with all of this, it is easier to get students more actively involved if I keep it more interesting for them. And also, it allows them to think outside the box and try to figure out for themselves different math problems. The primary math skills I'll be focusing on in my 4th grade class are the practice standards, which are actually implemented throughout all the grades in math. So like K through 12, it's kind of implemented. And it's basically just practice standards that say such things as making sense of the problem, or constructing viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others, such like just basic practice standards that you gotta reach. Then also the 4th grade standards, which I'm gonna focus on, are operations and algebraic thinking, number and observations in base 10, so I can use the base 10 blocks for that, number and operations with fractions, measures and data, and also geometry. I'm going to talk to you about a few routines that I'm doing. The first one that I like a lot is math talk. Some of you might be wondering what math talk is. It is actually when I take students and I have them explain to me different meanings. Like if they say 2 plus 2 is 4, I'll ask them, well, how did you get 4? And they can tell me, and this way I can better analyze their understanding of the problem instead of just the process. And then that kind of goes with problem solving is another routine I'll do. I'll probably give them a problem, and then the students will work out that problem by themselves, or they can work through with groups, and they can kind of talk it over amongst themselves to see if they can figure out the problem through different methods that they have learned either throughout the year with me or through past years in school. So having problem solving is a really big part, especially in the real world these days, and actually they've always been. And it's really important to incorporate problem solving and deeper understanding so that students can succeed in college and in their jobs when they graduate. Manipulatives is something that I'm going to be used quite extensively in my classroom. The money that I'm going to use is especially for like problem solving. If there is a problem about money, students can actually feel the money and be able to work it out and just kind of feel it for themselves and work it out a little bit better. And the base 10 blocks are really handy, especially if you're doing like adding or multiplication. The big cube right there represents 1,000. Those squares that are built of the tiny cubes, those represent 100. The sticks represent 10, and the little cubes represent 1. So it helps kind of with adding and multiplication. And then the others, these are also some different other ones that I may use in the classroom. There's counter bears, dominoes, linking cubes, and unfixed cubes. It kind of gets the students out of just worksheets and helps them to kind of work through it, because not everyone learns through practice through worksheets. Some of them learn by feeling and doing things. So these really help in the classroom. These are the different technologies I'll be using. I'll use the iPad quite a bit. It's got quite a few different apps I can use to get the students more engaged in what I'm doing. There's different games and different ways they can present projects or problem solving. I'm also going to use Kahoot, which is a really fun site that you can use for quizzes, and it basically has the students almost kind of compete against each other to see who gets a better score in Kahoot. And also Khan Academy I'm going to use so that they can brush up on their math skills, and it's individualized so the students don't fall behind, or they can also go ahead when they are an accelerated learner. So also there I'm going to use Seesaw, which is a portfolio that parents can log on to, and they can see what we're doing in class. And the portfolio will be nice because I can actually record what the students are doing and just be able to interact with the students, and then you all can see what the students are doing during the day. Alright, so in my presentation, I went over the Common Core standards, what they basically are, and how I will kind of implement them, the different procedures or routines that I'm going to use, such as math talk and problem solving in the classroom. Technology, I'm going to use iPads, Kahoot, and maybe Khan Academy. And also the primary math skills like the practice and the regular standards for the class. Also manipulatives such as base 10 blocks, and the teaching approach that I'm going to do. So there's a few questions that I have. Do I use base 10 blocks? Yes, I do. I find them very handy to try and get the students to understand the concept of such as numbers and operations, and it's kind of easy to have them be able to feel in their hands the different, like the blocks, and to also count them for themselves so that they can figure it out for themselves. And my other question is, do you have any resources I can use at home with my child? Yes, I do, actually. There are a lot of games that you can use. If you have an iPad, there are games you can use, such as Math Zombies or just, there are so many different educational games out there. And there's also, I'm going to use Seesaw. So you can also check out like what your kid is doing in class by logging on to Seesaw or getting an account through Seesaw. So thank you for listening to my presentation. Hope you all have a good day.